Hello and welcome back to another episode of the LFC Transfer Room Transfer Central. Today I'm joined by three lovely looking men. We've got James, Chris, Anthony. I'll start with you, James. How are you doing today? Just come back from a nice spa retreat.
I am, yeah. I'm all relaxed. It feels weird. I smell like flowers or whatever crap they put on you. But either way, good to be back on the channel. Transfer Central in it today. So, but yeah, nice and relaxed.
Yeah, Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, Charlie. First stream in quite a while. And how are you as well?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Just busy day working, but it's been quite nice here in the UK. Chris, same in Spain, or?
No, we've got the festivities here at the moment. I don't know if you know Valencia and this region have festivities at this time of the year, and we've had a storm for about 3 weeks now. It's been outrageously wet. The Spanish famous irrigation systems are doing F all. So yeah, we're basically living in the wetness at the moment. The only person who's happy is me dog.
Sounds like UK every other day apart from today, really. So you gotta have the weather a few times. But hello everybody who's joining. Make sure you do leave a like on the video. If you're not subscribed already, please do subscribe. Jen, good evening. Sweetie Teen, is it your birthday? Happy birthday. Manuel, happy birthday. So yeah, we'll just start getting straight into it. We've got a few topics to touch on today. The first one we're going to do really quickly is Julian Nagelsmann, the Bayern Munich manager, recently was come out yesterday, late yesterday that he won't be joining Manchester United. Surprise, surprise. The only clubs he would ever join the Premier League for are for Liverpool or Manchester City when Klopp or Guardiola leaves. Chris, I'll bring this one to you. You know, Julian Nagelsmann, extremely highly rated manager. You know, he's a bit, he's a younger version of Klopp, some people might say. I mean, tactically, obviously a bit different, but how do you think he would compare to, Jurgen Klopp?
It depends whether we're speaking tactically or as an overall manager, as the idea of a manager. Klopp is all-encompassing in many ways. He has this ability to create an incredible atmosphere wherever he goes. He's the type of guy who dances at 3 a.m. even if the team's lost the cup, and he brings people together in a way that then enables a team to perform. I view Nagelsmann very much in the same way I view Tuchel. Very good at his job, but is he necessarily this sort of all-encompassing icon that a club like Liverpool or United need, as evidence of many managers who've been to United and failed? I don't think he's the right character for Liverpool, and I think that's the key word. He's a fantastic coach. He knows his shit. He's really, really great ideas and lots of energy and knows more about football than me, obviously, but I don't think he's the right character.
I mean, there's been a fair few people linked with the Liverpool job after Jurgen Klopp leaves. Anthony, I mean, just to throw a few names out there, Steven Gerrard, Hansi Flick is one that, maybe people think that when he steps down from Germany, Klopp will go. Is there another name out there that you would maybe prefer in replace of Julian Nagelsmann?
It's tough, isn't it? But just because of how much we all love Klopp and how we all know how good he is, it's not just easy to just throw a name out there and say, oh, you could replace him, because nobody ever will replace Klopp. But to take his place, I think Pep Linders is probably the obvious one. Obviously, he's worked with the players before, and he still is, obviously. Gerrard, like you said, we'd all love to see him manage Liverpool eventually. But with Nagelsmann, like I think Chris hit the nail on the head. We need personalities at Liverpool. He just seems more one of them sort of robotic coaches like Tuchel. But I think Pep Linders is the obvious one.
Yeah, James, I mean, I think none of us want Klopp to leave. Hopefully, as Jen said, extend his contract for life, really. And obviously, no one can replace Klopp. But, if there was one manager, obviously, it's still a few years away, but who would you like to replace Jurgen Klopp?
I'm with Anthony. I think, Pep Linders is probably on the second longest apprenticeship behind Prince Charles to become king. You know, that's the longest apprenticeship in history. You know, we've Chris made a point, you know, dancing on the tables. Well, we've seen Pep Linders doing that when we won the League Cup. He was right in the middle of the dancing, wasn't he? He was right shouting it around. I think Pep Linders is what Klopp wants to take over. And if Klopp wants to disappear for a year, give Pep the reins and then come back, he wants to have a little break or anything like that, it all seems perfectly suitable. It looks like it could work. So, yeah, for me, I wouldn't want to change the boat because you're changing the philosophy. And as we have seen when Ferguson left, when Wenger left, I'm not going to use Chelsea as an example because everybody leaves. But anytime someone's built something of significance, unless an understudy's come in, from memory, I can't think of a time where the next person's come in and carried it on. You know, we're talking understudies take it through and they carry it on and make it their own. And maybe Gerrard is an understudy as well, but I'm more on the Pep boat than Gerrard.
Yeah, I mean, just to end this off, Chris, obviously our resident coach. What are your thoughts on, you know, Hassan Huttle? What a sweaty teen said. What would you think? You know, I rate him as Southampton. I just don't think he has the resources to, you know, take that team to the next step.
Yeah, I really rate him. I think you're right, Charlie. And he is that type of character that you would definitely think could produce something. But I think he said the key word, step. Klopp had Mainz to Dortmund, Dortmund to Liverpool, and within those paradigms, you have a sort of maximum ability that you can reach. I remember Mark Hughes taking Stoke to 3 years in a row, 7th in the league, and then they decided it wasn't good enough. I mean, great job, lads. I hope that went well. So when that type of thing's taken into context, Hassan Huttle, really the only way he would ever get the Liverpool job is by moving up into a different segment of players. The reason that is because there's 3 phases of football, really. There's the contain and the break, and then there's the domination. Hassan Hutton's really in this phase of containing and breaking in Southampton. However, he's never really showed the ability to play possession football or to dominate games in a different way. He could do that, perhaps. However, unless he shows something of that, taking a risk on him just seems like a step too far, really, at least in my opinion.
I agree with you, Chris. I think he needs that middle team, you know, the one that's going to win more than they lose, that 10th and above Premier League, because currently he's 10th and below.
I think Leicester would be a really good team for him. I think that would be a perfect move. You know, Brendan Rodgers is on the decline. He's, you know, going through his Liverpool route. He's got one plan and he sticks to that plan until it gets him sacked. So, you know, I think it's sort of getting to the end of his reign. And I think even though some of the results he's had are a bit iffy, you know, you can tell that he's very much in a mold of Klopp. I mean, his nickname is the Alpine Klopp. So it's I do think it is a matter of time before Southampton end up losing him to a, as Chris said and James, you know, a 10th place above club to take them to the next step. But going on to the next topic, just so we don't linger around on that one too much. Kostas Tsimikas, I heard there was rumours around clubs being interested in him after, you know, this display. So I messaged a person on Twitter who broke the news from him to Liverpool. I'm going to butcher this name. His name's Giannis Kourianopoulos.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, Giannis Kourianopoulos. I think that's how
Sorry, you're lagging a bit, Charlie. Can you do it again?
Funny James. Really, really nice guy. Broke the news to Liverpool about Kostas Tsimikas. He has confirmed that many clubs are interested in him, but he's 100% happy at Liverpool. There's no chance he leaves at the moment, and Jurgen Klopp's more than happy. You know, I posed this question to into a group chat that I'm in. If we got 30 million for Kostas Tsimikas, would you take it? Anthony, you're shaking your head. I'll start with you.
We need these sort of players who's going to push Robertson. I think Robertson towards the end of last season was having a bit of a average performances. Obviously, Simicast started performing well, and he started pushing him to play even. But I think we could do with one at right back as well. I don't think Nico Williams is good enough for us. So it'll be good to have one there. But Simicast, I wouldn't accept any money for him. We were waiting for this day to have players who want to 100% stay at the club and love playing for us. And obviously, if he wants to do that, then he can carry on.
Yeah, I mean, James, you seem to be in agreement with Anthony there. Obviously, this season he's come out of his shell. You know, last season it took him a bit of time to get used to the whole setup, but he's really embracing the Greek Scouser role. You know, he loves the fan base, and the fan base has really took to him, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, where would he go for me? So far, he's played 20 games this season. I was looking it up then. So he's played 20 games this season. So if he goes to, let's say, Leicester, he might play 30 games, you know, and he might end up on 30 games playing for Liverpool this season. So he could go to lose more games and defend more and, you know, be in those fights, or he could play the same amount of games and be in the fight for the biggest competitions of them all, being an integral part when he's needed to function in a role, being probably the best left-back understudy we've ever had. So why would he want to go? What's the benefit for him? Because he's getting games. So it all seems good. It just seems like this player's good. Like Nico's proving to be good at Fulham. I think people just want to try and take out the number 2 because the number 2 could become the number 1 over time. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Bojack said here you'd take 30 million, but no club would be stupid to offer that. I mean, I think from the performances he's had this year, you know, there was calls from early in the season to, you know, take over Robertson, and he has really pushed Robertson, Chris. But it is a bit of a, you know, we've always needed a backup, especially for our fullbacks. It's one of our most important aspects on the pitch, and it's not really noticeable, is it, when Robertson doesn't play compared to Simicast? You know, I'd probably say Simicast has a better right foot than Robertson too, which, you know, is probably his only weakness in his game.
I'd have to disagree, to be honest, Charlie. I think that Robertson's ability to drive the team up the pitch is massively underrated. Trent really doesn't drive the ball like Robertson does. Robertson has this ability to move the team up the pitch, and even though you are right, Charlie, about Simicast's perhaps ability to cut inside more often, Robertson's ability to drive the team up the pitch whilst at the same time essentially playing a sort of third centre-back position is massively underrated. He's genuinely verging on best left back in Premier League history territory. Many people will say Ashley Cole. Many people would be stupid. Ashley Cole was a centre-back playing left-back. He never created goals at all. And I think that in the modern game is quite valued. And this is in a time when Roberto Carlos was creating more goals than many other players in the world. So I really think that with that bearing in mind, Simicast has got a lot of maturing to do, and I think he's in the right place to do that. Although I'm really happy to hear James's retort.
I think this is where you're starting to try and define eras of time and what players did in certain things. So whilst I would say, yes, Ashley Cole was not the best attacking left back, he was the dirtiest, most annoying player that you could come up against if you're a right winger.
Yeah, but I agree with you, James.
A lot. He was an integral part of it. It's not like he was a part-timer. So I think you define an attacking era against the defending era, and it's harder when you look at left and right backs for me, because that role has been revolutionised by Robertson and Trent. It's been completely redefined, because what Cafu and Roberto Carlos were doing was not generating numbers anywhere like this.
Well, Carlos had the season when he produced 13 assists, 14 assists. I did look into it when I did Robertson's video. But you see, the problem I have is that people say the game evolves. I just think the game gets better. I personally think that Ronaldo in 1980 would have scored an absurd amount of goals. And I think that I think that we really don't value what's in front of us sometimes. We really don't value those amazing things when we see Robertson, for example, who I would genuinely, in world football right now, I'd struggle to find a better left back, a better all-round left back than Andy Robertson.
Oh, he's definitely the best in the world at the moment, no shadow of a doubt. How far you can put him in the all-time left back thing is definitely a debate that you can have at some point.
I mean,
which I won't start now because I know it's Transfer Central and Charlie will cut
yeah.
it off.
No,
Sorry, Charlie.
how old? I'll get in on debate. How old is he? He's 20, 25, 26, correct?
26,
Robbo, he's 26 or 27, I think.
I mean, look, nowadays professionals are going till what? Mid-30s?
28.
You know, he's 28. Oh, fair enough.
28.
Oh,
11th of March, his birthday, so it was only recently.
Only just, okay. So, you know, look, we've seen players play at the top of the game for years to come. He's going to be, what, let's say 4 years, he'll be 32. That's still 4 years, potentially 50 plus assists in them 4 years in the Premier League. Why can't he become the best left back in Premier League history? I mean, I've been a very strong advocate that Trent Alexander-Arnold already the best right back in Premier League history. So why can't he? Yeah, I think, you know, Ashley Cole and he's out of my time, but is it Dennis Irwin?
Dennis Irwin's a fantastic player. But Dennis
Yeah,
Irwin produced assists and scored goals, something Ashley Cole could never dream of.
Yeah, so look, I think there's a lot more competition regarding that, but I can't see how the hell in at minimum 4 years, you know, in that time we could have at least 4 Premier League titles, and you know the whole debate of, you know, Ashley Cole has more trophies goes out the window with that.
Yeah,
Ashley Cole has better stats.
Side though, Charlie, hasn't he? You can't just. Hopefully, and I say hopefully, Robertson can play all the way through. He does look like a really tough player, but all it takes is one bad injury, and they can lose.
Yeah, you can say that about any, and I prefer to, you know, look at it as, you know, he has never had a major injury in his career. Why should we be expecting one now? You know, it's I think it's a rare instance, especially in nowadays game, that you do get a real career-ending injury.
But on the hopes of things, he's on track. He's definitely on track to do it. It's just that's the hope, isn't it?
So that's as a coach, that's a big bugbear of mine. I feel that what we often do is we sort of try to wait until a career is finished before we judge a player, and that like Andy Robertson now, for me, he's one of the best left backs in Premier League history because of what he's doing per minute. Does that make sense? So when we look at strikers, we say goals per minute. When we look at defenders, for example, we look at defenders and we've got to understand how many clean sheets per minute he get and how many interceptions per minute, and that's obviously relevant to the type of team they are. But Ashley Cole playing in a Chelsea team with, quite frankly, one of the most expensively constructed squads that's ever been. For anyone to say that he wasn't underperforming by not getting assists is lying. He should have been getting assists. And Robertson is. So per minute, he's currently up there. If he breaks his leg tomorrow, to me, that doesn't matter because he was one of the best players in the world.
But it does... And this is where reflection is an important point of it because it does change the story. Yeah, because you could have another 4 years of unbeatable numbers. So the point of waiting till something ends to reflect on it properly is sensible. Because if you call it mid-story, he could do a Cantona, just hypothetically. He could do something that completely tarnishes what he's accomplished. You don't know what that could be. He could do a Karius and cost us multiple things, and it tarnishes the memory. So reflection's an important point. To this point, he is bang on track to be the greatest left back in the Premier League.
I think at this moment you're very to argue the point that he isn't top 3 of all time, even just at this point. You know, top 3 might be pushing it, top 5, 1,000,000%. at this current moment, if he was to have a career-ending injury right this second, there's no doubt in my mind that he goes down as top 5 left backs ever in the Premier League.
Is he 5th in the all-time Premier League defenders assists, or is it European assists, like across all the leagues? It's something bonkers. Like Trent and Robbo are already in the top 5 in history. I think there's Zanetti and someone else ahead. I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Yeah, and you're looking at like the likes of Zanetti, the likes of Roberto Carlos, them real Cafu as well, them real people who really changed the game in them positions. Their careers they were playing at top level teams for years and years and years. Robbo's been a Hull since like 2018. He's been playing Championship football. He's been playing Championship football in the Scottish Premier League. So it's just, I think his story as well really is something that, for me, it's a massive thing to say, look where this guy's come from and now he is where he is. Like, it's a massive change. But, I think this could be a debate room topic, the best left back and right back in Premier League history. So we'll
sorry, Charlie.
No worries. I enjoy going off on little tangents. But
Danny
again,
Alves is at number 1 with 100. I'm just going to put that out there.
Trent is beating that.
Yeah, but who was he playing with, James? Who was he playing with?
Messi.
My point is
that's low.
His career is 100. That's going to be decimated.
And he's still playing. He's still playing as well.
Yeah, so it's I think no doubt by the end of the careers, unless something horrific happens, them two will be number 1 and 2. And it will be very hard to beat them for a very long time, decades in the future. But just really quickly before we get on to the next topic, if you are new, we've got 30 people in here. Make sure you leave a like on the video. It helps us out loads. Subscribe if you're not already. And we've got a little ad going on with Manscaped at the moment. So 20% off if you want to shave anything. Chris, don't listen to this. Your beard is magnificent. So just use the promo code TR2020. It'll be scrolling at the bottom for the rest of that. But yeah, so subscribe. Next one, Frank Kessie. We were linked a lot with him during the January transfer window. It seemed to be between us and Juventus. Juventus obviously signed Zakaria, and now we're just not signing him. We're not signing Kessie anymore. One team who look to have completed the deal is Barcelona. Fabrizio Romano and a lot of other really good sources have said that he's now signed a 4-year deal at Barcelona. He will receive a 6.5 million net salary, so that's after tax, which is roughly 110 grand a week. Around that, plus add-ons. Anthony, I'll go to you. Do you think us adding Kessie to this team would have made a big difference? It's a bit more squad depth. He can cover multiple positions in midfield.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've gone past the point where Henderson needs to stop starting matches for us, and we need another midfielder who can cover Fabinho just in case he gets injured. Obviously, Barca have signed him now, but I don't think we're going to lose sleep over Kessie in particular, but we definitely need someone who plays a similar position. Like we're going to touch on it later on. Tchouaméni, hope I pronounced his name right, from Monaco is probably the favourite for us to sign. But we're not going to lose too much sleep over losing Kessie to Barca.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, Xavi's really lit a fire underneath this Barcelona squad. They're going to be favourites to win the Europa League. They're playing some unbelievable football. He's not coming in until next season as a free transfer. But how do you think this will, really help Barcelona? But again, on the Liverpool side, do you think it is an opportunity missed, especially since it is a free transfer? Maybe it could have been on James Milner.
No, I think that Liverpool playing in a different ballpark, quite honestly. I think that Kessie's a very good player, quite a complete player, very well or good all-round player. But he's to give you an idea, he's sort of in the same ballpark as a Ndidi type player, in so much as that he's a ball robber. He's quite good with distribution as well. He can carry the ball, but you'll get, how can I say this? You can get lured into buying these players quite regularly when they don't perhaps add or improve the squad. And what Liverpool seem to have is a commitment to improving things in one way or the other. So whether that may be going out and getting a Bellingham, who would definitely improve things and could be the successor to Thiago, or whether that may be this Tchouaméni guy, who would be an amazing backup to Fabinho. But then again, are you gonna convince these guys to come in and be backup when they can go to Barcelona and Madrid and start? That's quite difficult. So, to be honest, I think we're in a very difficult position whereby we do have a plethora of riches, and I think it's half of the battles convincing people to come and win the space when they can walk into spaces on equal money in other places.
Don't you
Yeah.
think though, like some players will want to join Liverpool to kind of prove themselves that they can get into Liverpool's first team, and that's the only way of improving. They're not gonna. Well, in case he goes to Barcelona, realistically, he's just going to be another one of those players. But nobody will remember him once he's retired. If he would come to Liverpool and actually cement his place in the starting 11, he'll be recognised as one of the best midfielders in the world.
Yeah,
No,
I actually. Okay,
sorry,
just
Charlie.
really quickly, I think it's very underestimated on how I don't think people think about this a lot, but I honestly believe that a large majority of footballers nowadays care more about money than playing. At the end of the day, this is a job for a lot of people. They're only going to be playing till they're 30 years old, and they're used to a certain lifestyle. I mean, how many people are going to care? Oh, I'm sitting behind Fabinho here, but I could be, getting more game time, but I could be getting more money at Barcelona. We aren't going to be able to offer Kessie what he's been offered at Barcelona. So I do think it's a lot. It isn't thought about a lot regarding the whole money thing. Oscar is a really good example. He openly said that he went to China for money because he doesn't care about football. It's a job for him. I do think that's a lot more I can't think of the word, but a lot more active than we want to admit, maybe. But sorry, go on, Chris.
No, I agree with you completely, Charlie. Fantastic point. Yeah, I think that we're also Liverpool fans, and that's really important to remember. Frank Kessie might have grew up probably watching Leo Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. That's not the other people from other nations don't view things quite the same as perhaps we do. I think it's also really important to remember that Liverpool are considered one of the best teams in the world right now. And if you are looking at Thiago and Fabinho and your representatives are saying to you, look, sorry, mate, but you're playing worse than they are in a worse league, then we advise you to go to Barcelona because you'll have more of an opportunity to get in the first squad. That's going to sway you as well. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure about the whole becoming a Liverpool icon thing because I think that footballers are quietly realistic. There are some mad ones out there, but a lot of them, you hear them making decisions that are actually beneficial for them in the long run rather than for anyone else.
We've got some big question marks over us as well. I think we need to recognise there's some big question marks over Liverpool's future at the moment. Klopp's deal ends in 2024. We haven't re-signed Salah. We haven't re-signed Firmino. We haven't re-signed Mane. So if someone was to join us at this moment in time, yes, we are currently one of the best teams in the world, if not the best team in the world. But there is a risk if you sign for us for 5 years that a massive change comes and you could end up in the turmoil everyone else ends up in. We need to make some contract signings and quick if we're going to convince big players to join us in the summer.
I mean, going on to not sort of contracts, but we'll touch on that in a minute. Frank Kessie obviously, mainly plays in that Fabinho role. We know what Klopp likes. We know what Liverpool like. We like a versatile player who can play multiple positions. Frank Kessie isn't really that unless he's forced to. One player who is I'm going to try my best to pronounce his name, Aurelien Tchouameni. I'm not saying that again, James. I think that's how you say it, Tchouameni.
Tchouaméni.
I think it's Tchouaméni.
Well, Chris gave me a thing because we've done a video on it on the LFC transfer room, haven't we? We've done a full breakdown of his stats, and I was told it was Tchouaméni.
Okay, I'm gonna go on Transfer Market because they have his little name thing. So hold on.
He's got like the accent on the E though, like in French, you pronounce it
It
like
doesn't matter. He's going to be playing for PSG anyway.
Okay, his little name thing isn't there. We're gonna just call him
Dave.
Yeah, Dave the choo-choo train. So Dave is Tchouaméni. He's a very highly rated player to say the least. Real Madrid have been linked with him a very long time now. A deal was pretty much thought to be done, and now reports from Spain. We've always been linked with him too. We've been one of the clubs in there and around him with Manchester City and Man United, who he's never going to. But them clubs, we've been linked with him a lot. Now Marca, sorry, as you can tell, foreign. Marca. There we go. I'd never ever have said that. Would have been my last thing to say. Apparently, Liverpool are currently leading the race for him alongside the two Manchester clubs. Real Madrid don't even want to get involved anymore. And this signing really, it looks like it's going to be a long-term replacement for Milner and Henderson. He can play in a box-to-box. He can play in that defensive role. He can cover. He's basically the complete midfielder, or close to you're going to get. He's already in the French squad. He's a main key part of it, and he's 22-year-old. James, I mean, this sounds like the absolute perfect Liverpool signing. It ticks every single box. He's young. Chris, I'll get to you, but don't laugh at me. he ticks every box, in my opinion. He's around that 40 million mark. What we'd like to do, what we'd like to pay. 22 years old. He plays multiple positions, and I've sort of noticed as well. Liverpool have been going for a certain caliber of club to get these players. Wolves, Europa League, Ajax. We've been linked with a lot of Ajax players. Bottom Champions League clubs who are not really at the top level. FC Porto. It's a very similar pattern, and I think Monaco are the same. They're a constant, not threat, but they're always in and around European competitions. So do you think this can genuinely happen, James? And how much do you think he could offer to Liverpool?
I think I've done a video on him for the channel, and his stats are, when compared to Liverpool midfielders, very comparable in terms of the sprints he makes, in terms of the passes that he makes, the possessions that he gets, what he does with it. There's a lot of very comparable data in there. There's a couple of areas where he would need to be sorted. His pressing isn't there, but that's not how Monaco play. So you assume he can press because he's quite a mobile midfielder. But as a general player, and then the eye test watching a few of his games, he seems like he would be a very good solution for us. I think price-wise, it's in our ballpark. Our relationship with Monaco is good, because we had a good relationship when we signed Fabinho from them. So that there seems to be, of all the rumours that flying around at the moment, because we're being linked with everybody and his dog, I like the sound of it. But as Chris said, I think Real Madrid, PSG will all be in the hunt for this. And I think, as we've seen with Gini Wijnaldum, they change 125 grand a week to 225 grand a week, PSG, like that. So I think if he is seen as that solution, we might get priced out.
I mean, Chris, we've seen, what James has said. Clubs like PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they come in and they offer double what Liverpool can offer, but what they can't offer is Jurgen Klopp. The opportunity to work under Jurgen Klopp is it's starting to get a very once in a lifetime opportunity, and what players have failed under Jurgen Klopp since they've come in? Not many, if any. So, but that's what we can offer, not even though it's not money. Do you think that's an attractive enough deal for Dave the Choo-Choo Train?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. I think that there are multiple conversations had within the Liverpool sphere regarding the connections that Liverpool have got with certain agencies, certain football agencies, and the ability for Liverpool to sell the club to certain players. But of what we've seen, looking back at many players, Camavinga, for example, went to Real Madrid. He's a very highly rated player. Pedri chose to stay with Barcelona. There are many players around the world at that 21, 22 age that they want too much, and I think Liverpool aren't interested in those players. If you come in wanting that kind of money, that says a lot to us. We're never going to sign somebody at the age of 21 or 22 who isn't a first teamer for that amount of money. We're just not going to do it. And I can't see anyone replacing Fabinho or Thiago right now, apart from a world beater. So I honestly think that the way it works out with these things is that he might just have got too good too young.
Do you not think, though, Chris, you look at that Camavinga situation, Real Madrid want to sell him this summer. He's been there a year. They're French teammates. He's going to be speaking. They're probably quite close, as international teammates are. Do you not think Camavinga's going to be like he's going to look at that Camavinga situation and be like, okay, yeah, I spent a year at Real Madrid, but what did I get? I'm going to be transferred to a club beneath them now. Why didn't I use that step instead of joining Real Madrid and going to the top? Maybe I could have joined a decent Premier League side, or maybe went to Liverpool where I would have got chances and I would have felt like a player, because I think that's something that a lot of clubs can't offer, especially the likes of Real Madrid, PSG, Barcelona. We're very much we back our players all the time. Certain situations, certain fans, obviously not. But I like to think that the club as a whole is very like a family orientated club, which a lot of these Spanish clubs aren't, and I think that's something else that we can offer. And maybe it does look at Camavinga and say, this isn't the right thing for me to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, the family orientated thing is interesting because we need to remember that Barcelona is still considered a really iconic familiar club. Familiar in Spanish means close and friendly. So that's important. It's also really important to remember Barcelona bring them through the next influx of players. So there'll be many players who want to get on board with that and come along with that train. In regards to Madrid, what they'll do is if they sell Camavinga, they'll put a buyback clause and then they'll just say, oh, we'll come back for it to loan. It's the problem that we have is in the equal measure of me saying that the players are smarter than they used to be, the scouts are still greedy bastards. The agents are still greedy bastards. And what are you going to do? What are you going to be advising a 19, 22-year-old who's probably an idiot, let's be honest? I mean, we've all seen the bizarre Snapchats that some wink players have been involved in. And it really doesn't show to maturity at times. So I don't know. I think that we are very, very, very selective with who we go in for. And it's almost like they need to choose us rather than we choose them. Let me explain that. We almost want them to say, no, I'm not interested in this or this. I'm interested in Liverpool. So, when we see that so many times, Fabinho, nobody else linked Liverpool. Jota, nobody else linked Liverpool. Thiago, everybody knew that we were going for those people. Everybody knew where Thiago was going, went to Liverpool.
So United after Fabinho at the same time?
Yeah, they were after him, but he turned them down completely.
Yeah, I think Lewis...
Cheers me up. Sorry, I just needed to point that out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Luis Diaz as well is another really good example of that.
Canate. It's almost like the player needs to choose Liverpool and say to everybody else, fuck off, I'm going to Liverpool, and then we'll talk, because we're not interested in a bidding war, we're not interested in a wage war, we're not interested in giving you a huge signing on fee, and that just excludes so many players, which is really unfortunate on our Transfer Central show.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Dave the Choo-Choo trainer saw Fabinho and he's like, wow, look what a career he's having in Liverpool. Maybe I want to go and follow him. But Anthony, how good would he be for a Liverpool signing? It might not happen, but we can dream about it. He's Milner's agent, Henderson agent, Thiago's getting on a bit. This guy's 22 years old. He could be playing for Liverpool for over a decade if we was to sign him.
Your point before, by the way, he needs to reject other clubs. I thought the rumor was that he rejected Real Madrid. He wants to either go to Liverpool, Man United, like a Premier League move. But
Yeah, that was. I think he has said. I think it's a bit of both. I think Real Madrid sort of trying to sign Mbappe and Haaland, and there's other issues
for a year type of conversation.
Yeah, so maybe it's a bit of both, but as you said, I think he did also say that he wants to join the Premier League. So it's one of 3 clubs that he's potentially joining. But sorry, go on, Anthony.
I mean, if there's 3 clubs, then it's between us. Man United, he's obviously going to choose us. But what was I going to say? You say Milner's aging. His contract's literally expiring, isn't it, this summer? So
yeah,
we definitely need to bring another midfielder in. I think we need 2 midfielders, maybe one like his quality to kind of start for us. Chris mentioned Thiago, Fabinho pretty much nailed on. So we need another right central midfielder, and then to maybe bring someone else in. But he's going to bring the extra defensive solidity. We saw at the beginning of the season, we were like lacking that. Henderson weren't really tracking runners. Same with Curtis Jones. They weren't doing great in midfield in terms of defensive ability, and we were conceding silly goals. And hopefully with this signing, hopefully if he does sign for us, we'll manage to cut those silly goals out.
Yeah, Thiago's an every other game player as well. I'm just, everyone's saying Fabinho and Thiago nailed on, but I think this season Thiago has been an every other game player, not a every game player.
Sure.
I think Henderson as well is a very purple patch player. He goes through really long stints of being unbelievably terrible at football and not really knowing what he's doing. And now he just one game he switches and he's like, I'm sick of football again. And now he's he's doing good again. So it's I think he comes in straight away as 4th choice midfielder if we were to sign him. But somebody has said in the chat here, DJ, Tchouameni and Jude, what an absolute unbelievable midfield duo that would be. Stuff of dreams.
I think Bellingham's the one, Charlie. I think Bellingham's the one. I think that everything I've heard, everything I've seen, is his attitude, the way that he went to another country to improve himself. He screams a Klopp player. He screams Liverpool in every single way. And I think that Liverpool are basically determined to get Bellingham in. And I think what they'll try to do is they'll let Haaland should leave Dortmund this summer. I think that Bellingham will stay there 1 more year and then Liverpool will go in with him. And I think they might even have a gentleman's agreement now with Dortmund, because that's the way things work in Germany. As I often say to my Spanish friends here, things actually work in Germany, So they will already have a plan the same way of Keita. That's the way I can see things working out.
Yeah, although, definitely.
Who knows, right, Charlie? Who knows?
Yeah, I think me and Matty are very vocal about this. I think Jude Bellingham has to happen at some point in Bellingham's career. His family are basically open top reds. They love the club. So it's and Jude as well as can't shut up about the club as well. So it's I do think it's guaranteed to happen. But again, the price you're looking at 80 million as the reported fee. Tchouameni, 40 million. You could get another Klopp type player in for 40 million. So it's but again, we've proved that if we want someone, we're willing to spend the money on them. Van Dijk, Alisson, main examples. One player who we have also been linked to. It's a busy day, as you can tell. So make sure you're all leaving a like on the video, subscribe for all of the future streams and videos as well. CODY GAKPO. I'm not gonna lie, didn't really know a lot about him. We were linked with him for a while ago, some point earlier last year, where we were linked to Rafinha and Jarrod Bowen. Gakpo was put in an athletic report with a bunch of other players. Very, very highly rated PSV player. He's the vice captain at the age of 22. He just signed a deal last year with the club. Again, a lot of people think that was to retain his value like we did with Coutinho. James, I mean, could you see this happening? I mean, the report is saying that Liverpool are interested. 29 million to 41, but there are a lot of other clubs interested in him.
Not a chance in hell. Is the short answer. He's primarily a left winger.
He can play on the right and up front and in midfield. He can play on the right,
but he's primarily like the majority of his games are on the left wing. We've just signed a left winger who's seamlessly moved into the club. Yeah, he looks like he's a good player, but this screams of a transfer rumor to try and push up the price to somebody else. I think Arsenal are the other ones that are interested, and probably Spurs. Let's face it, they'll be trying to find a replacement for losing out on Diaz, but it just screams of we'll throw Liverpool's name in, that'll up the price 10, 15 million, hopefully, and we can get someone to bite, because left wing is not where we're going. You know, Jota, if he's to play on the wing, his preference is left. Diaz is left. If you lose Mane, fair enough, you've still got two left wingers. It just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, you know, he's a bit of a different player to our usual wingers. You know, he's 6'2". He's absolutely rapid as well for his height. But I mean, Chris, do you think maybe there's a chance, or do you agree with James?
I watched some videos of him, and he reminds me very much of not necessarily in his goal shooting style, but in his play of Moussa Dembele once of Tottenham. Very long, rangy, goes past the player with absolute ease, but not the fastest. Does he come in and play left wing, as James says? As James said, verbatim, not a chance in hell. Would he come in and play centre mid in a sort of Oxlade-Chamberlain role, getting the ball off the pitch, driving? That's a possibility.
Does that mean we're dropping the Fabio Carvalho? Fabio Carvalho.
Well, the fact that we've not heard anything is quite worrying. And I think that what Liverpool tend to do is, if you're not going to get it sorted, we'll just move on. So, yeah, from everything I've seen, he really looks like he looks like he goes past the man. And I think Klopp values that hugely in a midfielder. Now, you can either do that in something called packing, where you have lines of players, and James Milner is fantastic at it. He can pass through lines of players from front to back really quick. Now, that's really valuable. A player like Thiago can play one pass and skip the entire team, right? But if you can't do that, what's the other option? Well, you get someone who can go past the man, dribble past the man, and that's where we might be lacking in the future if Keita or Oxlade-Chamberlain was to go.
What about Firmino replacement then? If he's big, rangy, can run past a man, play that false nine. Because we talked a lot about Nkunku, didn't we?
Don't know his pressing abilities, and the other thing that is really difficult to rate when it comes to a false nine position is your ability to, how can I phrase this, backwardly attack. So everybody talks about forward passes, right? So, but if you've got one player here, and one player here, and you play it to this guy, and then he plays it backwards, right? Plays it backwards to this guy, and then you go. That's counted as a backward pass, but in reality, it's not. It's to the face, to de cara, we say in Spanish. But it's a really vital thing that Firmino does. So I have got no idea if he does that well, if he's able to link play as someone on Match of the Day might say, unfortunately. So I've got no real idea about that. But yeah, that could definitely be an option, James. Maybe they've seen something that we haven't, after all they usually do.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, you know, as I've said before with the Tchouaméni one, he's very much in the Liverpool mold. You know, he's between that age range of 22 to 25 that we try and, you know, we usually link with. Again, 30 million to 40 million. And imagine a 6'2" winger striker on the end of a Trent or Robertson cross. I mean, it's a good option to have if you're missing stuff. But do you think it would happen? And if you do, where could you see him being in the squad, especially if we got to remember we've got 3 players there leaving who could potentially leave, and I think at least 2 of them will by the end of 2023. So we're still linked with a lot of wingers. So it does look like one is actually happening.
I mean, I haven't got a clue who he is, to be honest, but I didn't know who he was before the stream started. But we've already got enough wingers, but obviously Origi's been linked with a move, and that looks pretty much done. We definitely need to bring another forward in, just in case one of the other forwards gets injured. Do we need another left winger though? I'd much rather see us sign Rafinha than Gakpo, but yeah.
Yeah,
I haven't got too much to say about him.
I mean, we'll get on to more of the Liverpool-related stuff now. DIVOCK ORIGI, the man, the myth, the legend. He's provided us so many memorable moments. Barcelona double, the Everton goal, the Newcastle goal to sort of keep us in the title, Champions League winning goal. I mean, Jurgen Klopp's called him a legend. I doubt we'll miss him, but how sad is this, James? It's an end of an era. It's an end of a DIVOCK ORIGI era.
Divock Origi, you play him when, in a poker term, when you're all in, you bring on Divock Origi. If it's a final or semi-final, the 95th minute plus, that's Divock Origi time. The Everton goal, I still see it in my head. Like Van Dijk skying it and just bouncing on the bar, and then T-Rex arms just like can't get it, just nods it in. It's just brilliant. It's a shame, but I think Taki's taking his role, because Taki got a 95th minute winner this season. So I think Taki's taking his role, and I think I'm all right with it. I think he's probably the best fifth choice out there at the moment, because he wants to be here, and I think Divock wants a new challenge, and he's completely earned the right.
Yeah, I mean, I should probably actually talk about the rumour before we go on to Love and Divock Origi. AC Milan basically confirmed that a deal has been struck. Fabrizio Romano, a lot of other really reliable Italian journalists are confirming that a 4-year deal has been complete. Liverpool didn't want to extend his contract. Origi didn't want to stay. Mutual decision at the end of the season. But Kris, he's as James said there, he's probably the last choice attacker at the moment. Still gets on the bench, but never really gets on the pitch. And we've talked about a lot of wingers already today that could be his replacement. But how much are we going to miss Origi? He does offer something that nobody else does.
Yeah, I think we'll massively miss Origi. I think Origi is probably the player that someone like David Ngog, Andre Voronin wish they were. He was able to basically never really truly command the first team place, but at the same time come in off the bench on relatively little money and deliver incredible moments. And to be honest with you, we will miss him as well, because it's a symbol of what was. It's a symbol of what was. It was a symbol of Klopp getting hold of this team and moving it forward and dragging players to some degree. If we look at Origi, sometimes I think he might be uncoachable in certain ways. He just seems wild. When he's younger and he's 16, people call it raw, and when he's 28 and a seasoned veteran, people call him an idiot. So it just depends on how you view it. I really am sad to see him leave. I think that he's done fantastic things for this club. He's never caused any problems that we know of. He has gave us incredible memories, and like I said, when it comes to other players, you really can't just write that off as being like, oh, he wasn't very good because he didn't have a great FIFA rating. Well, yeah, he didn't have a great FIFA rating, but he did some really amazing things at important times. And, you know, if ever there's a player that's got 20 out of 20 for important matches, it's DIVOCK ORIGI.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Klopp has said a lot that DIVOCK ORIGI is the best finisher at the club. You know, Jurgen Klopp absolutely adores the guy. He's called him a legend. You know, it's more moving to his AC Milan move. How well do you think he is going to do in that league? You know, we've seen the likes of Edin Dzeko, Olivier Giroud. These players are 30 plus who have got this, you know, the pace of the turtle. I'd put DIVOCK ORIGI up there with them, and he's rapid. He's not rapid, but he's a lot faster than them. You know, I think in a league like that, he's 26 as well. I think he could go there and become their top goal scorer. You know, how well do you think he is going to do in the Serie A?
All depends if they're starting or not. I think he's actually a very good striker in general. Like, I think a lot of us, we always play him down a bit just because we know how good our other forwards are and how good their goal scoring records are. But was it 15-16 season where he was starting games for us? He was scoring in big matches. He was scoring regularly. And then obviously the Funes Mori challenge happened to him. He just didn't look the same after that, which is a shame, obviously. But I think he'll do very well there. He's never scored above, 10 goals in a season? But if he gets regular game time, then I imagine he's going to be scoring for fun then.
Yeah, I want to go around everybody. You know, we'll probably do another stream on him, but towards the end of his year. But James, I want to start with you. Your favourite DIVOCK ORIGI moment?
Well, I'll give him one just because it's funny about Everton. My other favourite moment is I think in the final, Champions League final, you know, where against Tottenham, we're there, we're trying to hold it on and stuff like that. And then Origi comes, classic, from the left, step in, across, lower, bottom right-hand corner, the classic Origi shot. Perfect. Yeah, easily my favourite moment. I think he sits, for me, in that whole Luis Garcia type of bracket of a fan favourite without ever being like one of our better players. He'd never make anyone's top, you know, team, but you'd always have him on the bench. He'd always be number 12.
Yeah, Anthony, your favourite moment?
Yeah, without a doubt, it's got to be the Champions League final. I think that was the first like proper trophy I saw us lift. I saw us lift the Carling Cup back in 2012, but weren't really that impressive. But yeah, that moment where it just cemented with champions of Europe, and it is hard to pick one. To be fair, he's just that guy. It's sad. I mean, last season we were slating him, but then he'll score the 90th minute winner against someone. We won't want him to leave. But yeah, I think it's got to be the Champions League final winner.
Finally, you, Chris?
I think every time he scored, just didn't look like he knew what to do. Genuinely, people score and they have this sort of idea. Some people do a dance that they've choreographed in the changing room, but says a lot. Or some people will just run and put their hand up. Every time he scored, he looked like he was like, "Oh, have I just scored here?" Like
the one against Everton where I just picked up the ball.
Just picked up the ball. We've won, mate. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean,
he's a great guy.
Yeah, I think the Barcelona game for me, you know, the circumstances that he come into that game, you know, Salah wasn't available, Firmino as well wasn't available. You know, we're down 3-0, and you look at the starting lineup, and you're like, DIVOCK ORIGI's up front, we're fucked. Like it's
DIVOCK and Big Shaq, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then you know he scores the opening goal, and the stadium is erupting. And from that moment on, you're just like, how are we gonna really, you know, lose this game? And then for him to be that aware for the corner from Trent, it's you know, something that no Liverpool fan.
I don't think he was aware. I think he saw it last minute.
Yeah. You know, we'll say he was aware of it, just to, you know, give. I
think he's even said that he had no idea what was going on. He just saw it.
He was the quickest to react to it. He was the quickest to be made aware. So I think that moment will always be in my heart. 'Cause I think once we won that game, there was no way we were losing to Tottenham, and you know, we even grabbed a goal in the final as well. So there's endless memories. I really like the Newcastle one as well, the header in the last minute. It's another favourite of mine. But finally, Another Mohamed Salah story. Juventus this time. You know, the free agent whores. Every time a free agent comes up, they're like, oh, "I'll take that." Apparently, they've made contacts, first attempts to inquire him after with Paulo Dybala leaving. Dybala, I couldn't fit him in today, but we'll link with him as well. Mohamed Salah to Juventus, Chris. How realistic is this?
I don't think that's very realistic at all, to be honest. I don't know anyone who's worth the salt who wants to go to Juventus these days. I think Juventus is becoming a bit of a joke as well, because they dominate the league, but they can't do much else. And lately the dominating's not so dominating. I don't see anything in it. I don't see anything in it at all. I think that the biggest problem we're going to have is what happens with Mbappe this summer. If Mbappe goes to Madrid, as has been confirmed, as has been said, that has been confirmed, then PSG might come calling, and that might be a big problem, because if we get offered 200 million, I can see Liverpool going 200 million. We've had 5 years out of him. He's probably only going to go downhill from here. Yes, please. So.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, how much do you think he would be worth? You know, he's definitely not a replacement to Dybala, because Dybala doesn't start for them. You know, they did a similar thing with Cristiano Ronaldo, final year of his contract, to give him 90 million. Again, you know, he was like 30, 33, 30, or like 32 at the time. So how much would Liverpool demand for the best player in the world, even though it's a year left?
You know what? I don't know. Clear. I would personally value him at around the 150 million plus mark. I think there's not many wingers in the world who are that good at goal scoring. And I know people are saying, "Oh, if he wants the money, just get rid of him." But it's easy saying get rid of him. But then who do we replace him with? No one's going to score really 30, 40 plus goals a season for us for the next 5 years, are they? So we just need to give him the bloody money. We need to stop being pessimistic about him, talk about selling him. Just hopefully we could just keep him, and that'll be done with it.
The truth is, though, there's only one club that could sign him. It's PSG, and that's the game now, isn't it? It's PSG will give him this much. How much can he push up? So Rami probably contacted Juventus and said, "How much would you pay if he was free transferred?" Just to push Liverpool up, because the options at the moment are PSG or nothing.
I don't know. I think if you know, let's say it's going to be 80 to 100 million, I think they'll use that Ronaldo as a benchmark for the final year. You know, Real Madrid offered silly money for Kylian Mbappe. You know, he was like 21 at the time, so it's understandable. But you know, 90 million, if let's say, I think a lot of clubs can afford that, and a lot of clubs would, you know, I think Barcelona could scrape that money together. I think they would be willing to sell a couple of players. You know, Memphis Depay is already linked to be on the move. You know, if they Frankie de Jong as well is also somebody who's been linked away multiple times. Let's say they get rid of them two players. You know, that's close enough. You know, that's a lot of money towards them.
But we won't do business with Barca again, because they never paid us half the Coutinho money. It ended up getting written off because they were financially screwed over.
Nah, it didn't. The loan, we sold the loans to somebody. So we sold the debt to somebody. Sorry, not the loans. But I'm pretty sure it all got collected, or pretty much all of it has been, apart from one clause. But you know, we've seen them sign some players, Chris. So I mean, I'll go over to you. But do you think a Real Madrid or Barcelona could potentially sign a Mo Salah for 90 million?
No, Mbappe can't. With Mbappe going to Real, they can't afford Salah as well. Barcelona, I don't think they've got the money. They're looking at Rafinha at the moment. I think I incorrectly said on a previous stream that I don't think they'd sign Rafinha. However, they've just named the stadium Spotify, which people aren't very happy about here. So they've suddenly got an influx of money. So, I don't think so. I think James right. We've got PSG, and PSG are the biggest problem. And I'll be honest, if they come in 200 mil for him, I think that sounds like a debate that needs to be had, because 200 mil is a lot of money. That's a lot of perspective improvements.
I think once it gets into triple digits, obviously not 100 quid, but 100 million. I don't think the club turn that up for a person who's guaranteed to leave. I think if he doesn't sign by the end of the season, I can't see it happening, honestly. And I think if the club get an offer for 100 million plus, it's not even an option, because we can sign up to 2 players for that.
But the question is, how much could we win in winnings with Salah in the team if we let him go for free?
I think you replace him personally.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the question.
We're going to be having this Salah debate for at least another year if he doesn't sign his contract. So it's it's one that will surely be on the discussion for another stream. But
every transfer central.
Transfer central. I want to wrap up the Juventus thing, because I definitely don't think that's happening. No. They've been knocked out by Ajax, Lyon, and Villarreal in the past 3 Champions League stages. I don't think Salah would go to a club that level, especially now. As Chris said, they are massively on the decline. But anyone want to finish up on anything? I mean, we've been going for over an hour now, so it's I think that Salah thing is the best thing to wrap it up on. If you are new, please leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We stream every single day. We're going to be getting more videos out the sooner it gets to the transfer window. Follow all the guys on Twitter. Chris, Anthony, James. What else? Manscaped. Go and shave your balls. 20% off. TR 2020 on that link right there. So yeah, James, Chris, Anthony, appreciate you for joining me. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining the stream, and